Hey guys, my name is Caitlin Bashirs and I am an education major with a minor in mathematics 4 through 8. So what this means is that I will be a math teacher for the grade levels 4 through 8, basically in the intermediate level. A lot in my career field, we're going to be seeing the right triangles. I'm going to be introducing that to my kiddos primarily in that age group and starting to set the foundational basics for them. So the right triangles are actually everywhere. It's not just in my degree field, they are literally everywhere. To show a couple options, we can see it in engineering, constructions, as a carpenter, architectural, agriculture, so much more. But primarily just in my educational field, we see it a lot with mathematics. We're going to use it in algebra, pre-algebra, geometry, playing trig, even statistics. We're going to see it, we're going to use it. So that is what I'll be setting my students up for as well. So as a right triangle, they can come flip-flopped into many different variations of themselves, but the great thing about a right triangle is you can always tell that they're a right triangle. They have the two legs and the hypotenuse, and the two legs create that 90-degree angle, which is where we see that little indication box. It's right here as well. You see the two legs, that's going to be A and B, the hypotenuse being C, which is where we'll bring in the Pythagorean theorem. And again, A and B, and then C being that hypotenuse. So as introduced earlier, the education major with a minor in mathematics 4 through 8 is going to be the beginning of the higher level or advanced mathematics. So I'm going to be introducing the right triangles and helping them, students, to break down the right triangles using the Pythagorean theorem, and that's going to be the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So how can we break down and work out a right triangle? By using the Pythagorean theorem, of course. And as addressed earlier, it's that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So the biggest thing is finding out which is what in order to plug it in and work out our problem. So this leg right here is always going to be A. This base level, as I like to call it, is going to be B, and the hypotenuse is going to be C. So a good example that I'm going to use is a right triangle. Okay, so we know that this is A, this is B, and this is C. So our A, we know the value is going to be 15, and for B, we know that the value is going to be 8. We don't know the C value. I'm going to put a question mark there, and that's what we're going to try to get and figure out today. So like I said, we know that A and B is 15 and 8. So we can plug that into our Pythagorean theorem and work from there. The biggest thing is breaking it down and plugging in the numbers and working it out step by step to ensure that you don't get lost along the way. So a squared is going to be the 15, so we put 15 squared, and then plus b squared, so that's going to be our 8. We're going to plug in plus 8 squared. Again, we don't know our c value, so we're going to leave it as c squared. All right, you can work it on a calculator, or if you know your squares by heart, you can go ahead and break this down. We're going to continue to break it down a little bit further. So we know that 15 squared basically means 15 times 15. So we're going to write that here. So 15 squared equals 15 times 15, and we know that that equals 225. Same thing for 8 squared. We're going to break that down because we know that it's going to be 8 squared equals 8 times 8. So let's go ahead and write that out. 8 squared equals 8 times 8, which equals 64. So now that we have our a squared and our b squared values, let's plug it back in to get the main value, okay? So we've got for 15 squared the 225 And for 8 squared, we've got the 64 equals c squared. But now, what really is 225 plus 64? We can do it over here since we have it worked out. And we know that putting those two together is going to give us 289. So we know that c squared equals 289. So we can actually plug all of this in to see it in a more simplified version. So 225 plus 64 equals 289 equals c squared. So our main thing is we want to find the value of c. So we're going to leave that variable by itself. And we want it completely and totally by itself. In order to do that, we have to square both sides. We have to get rid of this little exponent up here, right? So in order to get rid of a squared exponent, we just square both sides. So 289 squared, we can use our calculators, or if you have squares memorized, then you know that this is going to be 17. So this equals 17 equals c. So we're done, right? That's it? No. Let's always remember to double check our work. With the right triangles, you can always double check. And that way you can ensure that you always get it right. So we know that the problem again is 15 squared plus 8 squared equals 17 squared. Again, you can work it all out again. We can do 15 squared equals 15 times 15, giving us the 225. And 8 squared equals the 8 times 8, which equals 64. You add those together again just to verify, and it does give us 289. We then look at 17, and we want to multiply that with 17 just to ensure that it is in fact 289. We do our math correctly, and we do get that 17 times 17 does equal 289. So our problem completely checks out. And the value of the missing hypotenuse is 17. All right. So this is an example that I will use for my future students. I will show them how to double check their work as we did right here. Double checking is so important. It makes sure that you do not get the answer wrong. It makes sure that you ensure that you went back and you did your work correctly. So like I said, a recap, right triangles are seen everywhere. Just about every degree field, every work career field, everything. You don't realize it, but math is so much in our day-to-day lives. Everyone always has a constant fear of math, and the question that I hate the most is, when are we going to use this in real life? We use it every day. Math, even at a higher level, is used every day. You just don't realize it because you've grown so accustomed to it. The main thing to make math not so scary is to break down the problem. With the right triangle, we get to break down the problem with the Pythagorean theorem and the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is really important to memorize, as you're going to carry that to your future classes as well, where they use different variables in place, but this theorem still remains the same. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about right triangles and where they can be in your life, and I hope y'all really liked the video.